This is about Russia and the administration taking action. And that's what is important. We need to make certain that we avert what could be an international crisis. I was concerned that it appeared that the administration was sleepwalking into an international crisis, but it looks like now they're going to be able to take action.
Today, we're going to talk about a terrible threat that's on its way. Is our government capable of doing something terrible? Let's find out what happened.
The New York Times reporting that our Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, quote, raised the possibility of the Russian nuclear move with his Chinese and Indian counterparts on Friday and Saturday on the sidelines of the Munich Security Conference. Mr. Blinken's message was blunt. Any nuclear detonation in space would take out not only American satellites, but also those in Beijing and New Delhi. So it does seem, to Mike Turner's point, that action, quote unquote, is being taken. But that said, are you confident that this Biden administration is giving this issue both the attention and full action that it warrants?
You know, I'm skeptical about all this, and I'm not sure it can happen. If Russia does such a thing, it is certainly possible to start a conflict or even a war, which in my opinion is not favorable for both sides. So, let's listen to the opinion of an expert in this matter.
Well, I think that the raising of concern for this is certainly warranted. I mean, when you think about the idea of a low, mid, or outer space detonation and what that could do, not only would it potentially knock out satellites, but it would also make certain areas uninhabitable for satellites, given the radioactive continuation. And so,
as I argued, it simply could be dangerous for everyone. From another point of view, we can't rely on guesswork, and we need facts in this matter. Let's hear more.
I think that we would have to look at things that, utilization of the 1967 Outer Space Act. I think that we could look at partnering with others to look at this at different types of international violations. I think it's good that it was raised for concerns, but I don't like the manner in which it was done. And I also find the timing of Mike Turner's release to be a bit questionable, given that each time one of these increased threats occur, it's around the time that the U.S. House is going to take up a authorization or reauthorization on things like Section 702 or FISA. And so I do think that in police work, they call it a clue, not a coincidence. But I just will say that it is a serious threat and something that we should consider.
I believe that we also need cooperation in this matter to prevent such serious problems and violations.
Now, just quickly on the treaty, do we trust Putin to adhere to a treaty?
Well, no, and that's exactly why President Trump removed us from the INF. And I think that, again, my bigger concern in all of this was the way that it was raised, the way that it was brought up. I mean, this is the exact same time that the Senate was trying to push a Ukraine supplemental, and many of us who are not willing to support another dime to Ukraine and want to put America's borders first, this was a way to try and provide cover for them. But also the reauthorization of Section 702. This is the thing that is supposed to be the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, but has been abused by the FBI 287,000 times to pry and spy on Americans. In my opinion, this is unconstitutional. It should not be reauthorized in the way that it's currently fashioned. And I think that this is one of the potential leaks, was to try and go ahead and enable a pressure chamber to be created by the American people.
So, we certainly shouldn't trust anyone. The U.S. has an obligation to defend itself and only itself. It's high time we secured our country, not Ukraine and Israel for the most part. I'm not talking about completely canceling aid packages to these countries. I'm talking about stopping direct sponsorship of all this horror. We should not be afraid of Russia and other BRICS countries. We should respect ourselves and not give our country any offense. That's what I mean.
Meantime, at least 400 people have been reportedly detained across Russia since Alexei Navalny's death. Lindsey Graham saying we need to make Russia a state sponsor of terrorism in response. Do you agree with that, Congressman?
No, I don't. In fact, I don't agree with most of what Lindsey Graham says. Lindsey's the one that wants to just continue to try and warmonger and send more things with this neoconservative approach for Ukraine or Iran. Or, I mean, this is a guy who says, hit them hard, hit them this, fight them there. I don't think that's necessarily the right response. I will say, however, though, the political persecution of one of his opponents, Navalny, which we know is very clearly going to be a murder that occurred. I mean, this is a guy who in 2021 was sentenced to 19 years for extremism and then was sent to the most highest max security prison right there by the Arctic Circle to mysteriously disappear. So, political persecution is something that we definitely look at. But then again, that's going on right here at home. If you think about it, look at the $355 million that was just levied in New York. I don't know that we can continue to point fingers whenever we're actually utilizing the Biden administration political persecution to come after their opponents.
Knows I agree with his opinion. Not in all aspects, but in general, yes. What happened to Navalny is definitely the fault of those who put him in prison, but we cannot point it out to them, much less condemn them in any way. Trump faced the same situation in our country, but for some reason, no one is snapping at the government in this case. You know what I mean? We should only refer to ourselves and no one else. What do you think about that? Write your opinion in the comments, and don't forget to check out other shocking news on the channel.